There are 5 chapters in this video. The first chapter, we'll be talking about the intended purpose behind this video and what to expect. The second chapter, we'll be talking about the basic introduction about myself. As you know, you're listening to a total random stranger on the internet, and I think that you should at least know some background. You can skip these 2 chapters, but I highly encourage you to go through these 2 chapters because you will bring that right mentality throughout this video. And I'm looking at my script because this video is going to be super long and I don't think I can have everything in my head. Then now going to the main segment of the video, as stated, there's 3 stages as stated in the thumbnail, right? So the first stage will be your foundations of growth. So the foundation of growth, this segment, you will learn to unlock your life's purpose and formulate your own personal values. And for stage 2, which is the stepping into growth. And this segment, and you learn about the 4-step BIRD framework that I personally came up with because it's easier to remember, to take the appropriate steps forward in reaching the purpose. And the last stage, which is the building long-term strength. And in this last segment, you understand about sustaining yourself for the long term by equipping yourself with the right lifestyle and mentality. Yeah, so these are the 5 chapters that I'll be talking in the video. So now moving on to the intended purpose behind this video and what to expect. Everyone is born unique in this world, and I strongly believe that they have something to offer with their own uniqueness. But because of societal pressure, they fail to find out who they really are. And so in this video, I am going to help you to rediscover your innate ability, or also known as your life's purpose. You'll learn 10 years of life lessons that I have distilled in this video just for you. There is also a workbook as a guide so that it accelerates your path and you can use it to write down your answers, as there will be reflection questions and exercises for you. This will help you to live a life according to your intended purpose on this earth as soon as possible. So in the description box below, you get access to the free 30-page workbook that I have worked on for the past few weeks, and is available for you to access it. You just need to provide your email and your name, those 2 details, and I will send to you via your email inbox. So right now, I'll formally introduce myself briefly. Maybe I'll create one video to actually formally introduce myself and my background. But I'm a student at the National University of Singapore. For the past 10 years, since I was 12 years old, I've been wasting my life away. Every holiday, I will be staying at home. I'll binge watch like K-dramas on YouTube, whatever activities I could waste my time on, because I was lost. I didn't know what I want to do. I think all of it was part of my coping mechanism, and it was very unproductive. Think about it right now. And currently, at the current stage of my life, my family is not doing it's not doing well, and my parents are divorced, preparing to sell my house to clear off the debts. And even at your lowest, you could still do something about it and change not only your fate but your entire bloodline. That's my advice for those who are suffering. And just like you, I'm a normal human being who has worth and dignity. And because I want to change your fate by unlocking your innate ability or your life's purpose, I've been reading up a lot, reading up a lot of materials, being on invited workshops by CEOs, giving talks and authors, and I've spent my life saving on all of these activities and all the workshops that I've attended, just to share all of this with every one of you here. Because I truly believe that my overarching mission is to empower young people to discover who they are and create their best future. And I think the reason why I'm doing that is I'm a young person myself, and I believe that all of these information, strategies that I've learned should be shared to everyone to have access to. And yeah, I just wanted to do something good for the world. I mean, it's the fact that we have the internet and everything, that I can bring my message across to the entire world. Yeah, so sorry if I'm repeating myself like so many times because I'm trying to avoid reading the script. Every video I upload will at least have a template PDF, wherever that something that you can write on and reflect on. And that's what sets me apart from the other YouTube channels where they only provide advice verbally, but there is not really any templates for you to write on. But for my channel, I'll be providing templates for every video that I upload. Yeah, so do look out for it. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, yeah, feel free to subscribe and like this video and share it around, because I believe that this video shall be my longest in terms of the video length and the workbook that I'll be creating. Yeah, maybe I'll be creating much longer videos, but it really depends on whether I have time. But yeah, do subscribe and share this video. I've thought of a long-term plan created, which is called Life Academy. So the Life Academy basically is to improve, to learn, flourish, to evolve. Yeah. And all the future resources will be parked there. So if you are willing, if you want to join, you can just provide the two details, your email, your name, and sign up for it. It's free, absolutely for free, as long as possible. Yeah. So do check it out. And before we dive deep into the content, do also go to the description box below to check out the workbook and download it and work alongside with this video. Yeah, and right now we'll be diving right into the main content. And firstly, we'll start off with the foundations of growth. So for this stage, foundations of growth, we'll first split into two portions. We'll talk about unlocking your life's purpose with 5 strategies that's outlined with a series of questions for you to reflect. And thereafter, we'll explore and formulate your own personal values. So let's now talk about the 5 strategies that I'm going to discuss to unlock your life's purpose. So as you can see on your screen, this is exactly what you'll receive when you register for the workbook itself. So I will go through this workbook one by one, stage by stage. All right. So for the 5 strategies to find your life purpose, it's about connecting to your life purpose that requires strategic planning in order to identify it correctly. So I mean, this may sound simple and easy, but without the right strategy, you will struggle to unlock it. And this 5 strategy is not came up by me; it's came up by Green Robert, his book Mastery. And I believe that these strategies has really helped me, and therefore I want to share it with you. And these strategies can be used interchangeably, so it's not a standalone strategy. And how each strategy is really dependent on your current situation and implement it according to your needs. You encounter each one in some form. And for the first strategy is the primal inclination strategy. So what this strategy is about is to target your natural talents and your interests. So oftentimes education and societal expectation mask your true inclination or your innate ability. And now you have to revisit your childhood and look for signs of a natural inclination. So I've outlined 3 questions and 3 signs. They are tied together. So for the first sign is a desire to repeat an activity that you are never tired of. So what are some of the activities that you're not tired of? So for example, for me, ability to educate and develop and motivate people. And that's why I choose to do YouTube videos, because I develop at a scale at a global level, and therefore I'm doing these YouTube videos. Desire activity that I'll never get tired of. Right. So these are the questions. What are some activities that brings you enthusiasm? And what is the activity that you constantly look forward to that once you start, you struggle to end it? So once you start the activity, you want to continue, do it over and over again repeatedly. So for example, sports like football, that you are highly engaged, or whenever you hear or interact with the sport. Like for example, when someone invites you for a match of football, right? You will say, okay, let's go. Or someone wants to have a conversation with you regarding about the sports, and you just cannot end off the conversation. That is a desire to repeat an activity. And then for the next sign, which is a subject that stimulated an unusual degree of curiosity. So for some of the questions, for example, what activity that sparks your curiosity, that makes you want to know more and go deeper into it? And does the activity make you wonder and think about it all the time? So this can be like philosophies, life philosophies that you are very interested, that you always want to know more about it. For example, like me, I would buy a bunch of books that talks about how to improve your life, how to help yourself, basically self-help books. I'm very invested in that. So whoever that buys me those kinds of books, I'm be really thankful and grateful for it because I love it. Yeah, that's an unusual degree of curiosity. And for example, you have high interest in how cars work, and you are curious about the inner workings that connect with one another to produce a functional vehicle. Right? That can be some of your curiosity that you are highly invested in. Right? Yeah. So that is the second sign. And for the third sign, feelings of power attached to a particular action. So some of the questions are: what are the activities that you always advocate for, that you believe will impact lives in a positive manner? And does the activity empower you into doing it at a greater scale? So this is your advocacy for certain causes that you believe strongly that everyone should talk about it. And some of the questions that you can think about is, and for example, you believe strongly about a particular cause that you think should be known by more people and by advocating it, and you feel empowered, that it gives you energy and pleasure while doing so. Yeah, that is one example. So a cause can be like animal abuse. You feel that more people should be talking about it, should be addressing it, and you want to advocate for it. That is feelings of power attached to a particular action. And from these three signs that you reflect on, it's not about finding another thing. It's not finding another purpose, right? The purpose is already within you. Merely need to dig and refine what has been buried inside of you. And do take a time to pause and think, to ponder and reflect on these questions. Write them down in the guide, in this book, right? And act as a reminder and look back at it. So you can keep on reusing this book, update it whenever possible, and whenever you feel lost, all right, let's go back to this workbook. Now moving on to the next strategy, which is the Darwinian strategy. The career is like a ecosystem where people compete for resources. In order to thrive, you need to find a niche that aligns with your interests. And the easier option is to start with a field that roughly matches your passions. However, you must avoid overly competitive areas like medicine, computer science, law, so that there's time for exploration. If not, your time is very tight because you need to constantly study, mugging, and you have no time to actually go out and explore your interests. So there are two paths to this. So as you look at the diagram here, the first path, you need to start off with a field, any kind of field that is roughly aligned with your interests, that you think might be your interests, right? And then secondly, the second step, it is to explore the side paths that attract you. Within the same field itself, you look for other paths that particularly attract you. The side paths can be, for example, you're in a field of computer science. The other paths that you have, the AI, artificial intelligence. When it is possible, you make the move into this new endeavor of yours, which is artificial intelligence. And then now, for the third step, you need to narrow down to a unique niche. How you narrow it down is to repeat this process. So for example, artificial intelligence, continue to find the side paths within artificial intelligence. And you just keep going, keep doing it until eventually you hit a totally unoccupied niche. The narrower, the better. And this new founded niche will correspond to your uniqueness. And that's how you'll find interest, your very specific interest that is attached to you. The second path is to master a field. So as I said, computer science. So you master it. You are very skillful at it. And the second step is add new skills. You complement it with other skills. So you look for other subjects or skills that you can conquer on your own time if necessary. So for example, computer science and content creation, and this YouTube channel. Add new skills like YouTube channel and AI. Then you combine the fields together, create something new, creating a new field. It can be like a AI influencer or AI YouTube channel. So ultimately, you create a field that is uniquely yours. That's just an example. So In either path, you have found a niche that is not crowded with competitors. As you have less competition and more freedom, you have time and space to develop your niche, which is the example that I give, which is AI and YouTube channel that comes together as a unique niche that is only belong to you. So that's for the second strategy, the Darwinian strategy. So moving on to the third strategy, which is the rebellion strategy. Generally, when it comes to a false path, is something we are attracted to for the wrong reason. So for example, like money, fame, attention, and so on. And this can lead to emptiness and unfulfillment, as the field we choose does not correspond with our deepest inclination, that we really find the fulfillment that we crave. So in other words, most of the time we are looking at immediate results. Oftentimes we are trying to gather happiness through the default route, which is like medicine, law, computer science, because it has high earning potential. But it does not align with our deepest interests, our core values, our life's purpose. And there are two steps to this strategy, the rebellion strategy, to rebel the false path. So for the first path, it is to recognize that you are in the wrong career. So if you are in a career that you dislike, you need to realize it as soon as possible. And you must reflect whether does it make you genuinely happy, that you're able to feel fulfilled at the end of the day. And the second step is to rebel against external pressures. So you need to actively rebel them, as they only lead you away from the truth path. As you rebel against these negative external factors, you need to follow a path that is independent, and subsequently, you establish your own identity and make choices that align with your values and passions. And by being aware of these dynamics, you can make informed choices and follow a path that is truly yours. So there are some reflection questions that you can think about as you are listening to whatever I just said and digesting it. So you should ask yourself, what are some negative external forces in your life currently? And then you name them down as many as possible. And now moving on to our last two strategies. The next one is the adaptation strategy. In today's fast-paced and ever-changing career landscape, it's essential to be adaptable and committed to your life's purpose. This means prioritizing your passions and your purpose over a specific job or company. You must not tie to a single position or personality forever. And you do not hold the past way of doing things. By being flexible and open to new opportunities, you can navigate career changes and find new ways to apply your skills and experience. It is easy to overreact or feel sorry for yourself as you navigate to the next stage of your life. You need to resist the temptation and move on. Your eyes is on the future and it's not on the past. So there are some reflections questions for you to do. Here, one of the questions is, what were some of the negative past experiences that you had? So for example, I was a quiet kid in school and I was known as a nobody, or I was bullied and I was embarrassed in front of my class. And the next reflection question is, what are some of the possible reasons restricting you from changing, and how can you overcome those reasons and change for the better? So for example, I am afraid that people might judge and mock me for choosing something that is not conventional. How do I overcome this? Is to journal my thoughts and write it down every day to prevent myself from overthinking and focus on fulfilling my life's purpose. And the last reflection question is, moving forward, how can I prevent from reverting back to my past self and remain focused in front of me? So for example, I would change the background of my laptop and my phone to remind myself every day that the past is in the past. For example, you can replace with a quote, and when you open up your laptop, you're able to see it every day. And it reminds you that the past is in the past and I need to focus ahead to fulfill my life's purpose. By embracing and adapting to the new path of yours, you turn your career challenges into opportunities for growth and fulfillment. Remember, your life's purpose is like a living, breathing organism that evolves over time. And by staying adaptable and focused on your purpose, navigate the ups and downs of a career and find success on your own terms. So now, to the very last strategy, the life or death strategy. Deviating from your destined path can lead to pain, frustration, and emptiness. Often the lure of money and immediate prosperity can lead you astray, but this comes at a cost. Your interest will lack and the rewards will dwindle. You will recognize how far you have deviated by the depth of a pain and your frustration. You must listen to the message of frustration and let it guide you as if it is a matter of life or death situation. So here are some reflection questions that you can think about. So what were some of your skill sets or actions that often surprised or ignored by others because of its controversy? And you felt unsatisfied when you followed what everyone else was doing. So for example, I coded every single day. For example, you're a coder, you love coding so much, and then you code it every day. And your love for programming has always been your greatest strength. But you were told by others that you should live a proper life, the default path, as everyone else, going to parties, having a normal social life as everyone else. But you have attempted to do it, but it does not align with what you are as a person or your personality, and you never enjoyed it. So these are some of the frustrations that you should listen to. The second question is, what were the exact emotions did you feel when you followed the default path, which is having that normal social life that everyone is trying to follow and trying to fit in into what everyone else was doing? So for example, you felt uncomfortable, you felt embarrassed, de-energized, stupid, or demoralized. These are some of the feelings, the kind of feelings that you go through as you follow the default path that everyone is talking about. And for the last question is, what were some of the inner voices that you experienced before? What were they trying to tell you? What was the inner voice trying to tell you? Right, list them down. Right, for example, my inner voice told me that the particular activity that I was aging with was distasteful and made me really uncomfortable doing so. My inner voice told me that it was not it, and I should stop before it's too late. So by staying committed to your path, you'll find the fulfillment and lasting success. It's not about shortcuts or quick fixes. It's about putting in the effort and dedication required to achieve greatness. With patience and persistence, you'll reap the of your labor and find a sense of purpose and satisfaction that eludes those who focus solely on material gain. As for example, like money, fame, popularity. We'll move on to the next segment. But we're still in chapter 1, but it's wealth trinity. Alright, now that you have found out your life's purpose, let's strengthen it by formulating your personal values. So why is this important? Your personal values are your guiding principles in life. If you look at the big companies and you go to their websites, you'll realize that every company has a list of values that they associate with. These values set the foundation that shapes their behaviors and actions. Similarly, you should also have your own set of life values. So you wonder, on what basis should I set my values according to? True wealth is not monetary value or property. True wealth is defined by the wealth trinity. So, what is the wealth trinity? It is divided by, and why should you base your why should you base your values based on the wealth trinity? Well, firstly, we have to know what is the wealth trinity. Wealth trinity is defined by 3 fundamental F's: family, fitness, and freedom. For the first F, family. Family is not only with your own family members, but your community, spirituality, your community, spirituality, and quality friends. Wealth is about having your life shared with your inner social circles and impacting the lives of others. It cannot be experienced alone, and the richest moments in your life happen when you are surrounded by your true friends or your loved ones. And the second F, fitness, is determined by health, vibrancy, passion, and energy. As the saying goes, health is wealth. If you lack health, you lack wealth. Wealth. Just recall a time when you are so sick that you cannot even move. Happiness is suddenly displaced from pursuing material wealth to praying for quick recovery. There's no price tag on health. Now, for the last F, freedom, it is the ability to live how we want, what, when, and where. Freedom is the ability to pay cash for a condominium, to dine out whenever and wherever, or to passionately pursuing your dreams without a budget and raise your children as you deem fit. That is freedom. Now that you know the wealth trinity, it is time to break down your values. The question prompts will get you thinking and warm you up as you think deeply about the values you want to carry on in this life. So in this workbook, there are this reflection exercise for you. For family, so for this exercise, write at least 3 personal values in each domain that you want to carry into the future, and how will you embody them into your daily life. So for family, the question is, what brings your family together in moments of hardships? And how does the family show the act of love? And the second question is, how will you embody these 3 values in the domain of family? And then for the second F, is fitness. When all goes wrong, what makes you still deliver results? When tough times happen, what makes you pursue on? Similarly, how will you embody them in your daily life in the domain of fitness? And for the last F, freedom. When you have the ability to purchase whatever you want, what is the first thing will you buy? And what does that product say about you? And similarly, how will you embody these 3 values in the domain of freedom? By constantly and consistently practicing these values on a daily basis, they will eventually become habits that guide you and your life purpose in the right direction. And I also want to give a shout out to my other video, which is called the lasting imprints. So it's basically writing your eulogy, right? And this method is finding your personal value through writing this eulogy, where message that is given to you at the end of your life during your funeral. Feel free to check out that video, or I'll link it down in the description box below. And it has its own 10-page workbook to guide you along, and it's totally free. There's a video along with it, and it's our YouTube channel, right? No registration whatsoever. Right, so now stepping to the next chapter, which is part 2. Which is chapter 4. Okay, stepping into growth. Now that you have found your life's purpose and your personal values, this section is all about strategies and wisdom in concentrating and focusing on fulfilling your life's purpose. This is to avoid paths that lead you away from tapping onto your innate ability, and instead guide you closer to achieving your own uniqueness that you're out to bring to this world. I'll be outlining the 4-step BIRDS framework, and to start off on the first step, it is to face the limiting beliefs of yourself. So for the first step, which is your limiting beliefs, the quote that I want to share is, "The entire long, unbroken bloodline of ancestors who survived unimaginable adversity, difficulty, and struggle, which their genes and their blood running through your body right now as you're watching this video." All of this is not for you to stay in the comfort zone, but to literally do the things that you're most afraid to do. Before you could go onto a path to fulfill your life's purpose, you first have to address the most important factor, which is your self-belief. It's really difficult to achieve your goals and set yourself up for the path that is truest to yourself if you do not have the right mentality. To explain briefly how self-belief can be changed, is based on 2 factors, as you see on your screen: new belief and current belief stored in our brains. In order to change our beliefs in yourself, the new belief needs to supersede the current belief. And there are 4 factors that determine if the new beliefs will change the existing belief in yourself. So they are a person's current belief, their confidence in their current belief, their new belief, their confidence in their new belief. If you have limiting belief about yourself, also known as deeming yourself as worthless, the way to change it is not through self-help books, inspirational quotes, or motivational videos. The following 3 methods will show you how to change your self-beliefs. The first method, turn the new beliefs through good news. When the counter belief is exactly what you want to hear, you're most likely to change your mind. For example, in a 2011 study, in which people were told that others see them as much more attractive as they see themselves, they were happy to change their self-perception. As you can see that the new belief, which is others see them as more attractive, being packaged as a good news, has convinced these people to change their self-beliefs. So the question that you should ask yourself is, how can you package your new beliefs that make you want to accept them? Now, moving on to the second method, inspire the new beliefs. Focus on implanting completely new belief and highlight the positive impacts. That is basically what inspiring with new beliefs. So for example, a case study about parents not vaccinating their children because of the side effects that vaccines have. How the researchers convinced the parents was not through the breaking of their existing self-beliefs, but offered the parents the new information about the positive benefits that the vaccines are able to prevent their children from encountering deadly diseases. Eventually, the parents took the advice and vaccinated the children. From this case study, it tells us that inspiring new beliefs with positive impacts is able to convince someone to change their self-belief effectively. So the question you should ask yourself is, what are some of the positive impacts that you can think of through the new beliefs that you have set for yourself? This can be an exercise. This can be if you want to start a new routine in keeping yourself fit. What are some of the positive impacts that you can think through exercising to convince yourself to do it? Now, moving on to the last method, the third method, detailed self-review of your limiting beliefs. People lose conviction when you ask them to explain or analyze the details of their beliefs. For example, a study conducted in 2012 where participants were asked about their stance on policy proposals. However, when the participants were told to explain as detailed as possible, most of them were unable to do so and ran into trouble. This works for limiting beliefs as well. So if you think you're worthless, have yourself explain as detailed as possible why you feel that way and question back with your own responses. It is very effective to get you to believe in yourself again. Just try it. And at the same time, question yourself, what are some of your limiting beliefs? And how can you rebut the limiting beliefs such that you go into the most minute detail? Now that you have debunked your limiting beliefs, have faith in yourself again. So now, let's move on to the next step. Moving on to the second step is to read more materials and mingle with as many people as possible related to your field, which is under the education segment. The next few steps are going to be a little concise and shorter. It will not be as long as the first step. To be frank, no plan is going to help you or give you direction. If you want to achieve your life purpose as quickly as possible, you have to do it yourself and with great energy. In the beginning of attaining any form of success, you generally begin as a novice who knows barely anything. What you must do is to struggle against any limiting self-beliefs and weaknesses. You need to continually work to expand your horizon. As a very good starting point is to read as many books as possible and materials that go beyond what is required. At the same time, mingle as many different types of people as possible to gain various worldviews. With your mind expanding, you redefine the limits of yourself and increase your own confidence. Every successful person on this planet had a humbling beginning that led to them where they are today. There is no easy path, and the only way is through sheer determination and willpower to overcome any form of obstacles. For starters, expand your horizon through reading and interacting with the right materials and people, and naturally, things will begin to fit bit by bit. To get you started, try to research what are the materials or books that you can find in each domain of the wealth trinity. To start you off, write down at least one book or material for each domain and note down what knowledge gaps are you filling in. So in the workbook, there's this exercise. Choose one book or material in each domain, family, fitness, freedom, and note what knowledge gap are you filling in. Now that you have found and discovered the books and materials about the field you are going to pursue, it's important to also understand that there will be setbacks along the way. Because of this, we need to set rejection goals, which is our next step of the framework. Setting rejection goals. It's very often we tend to set our goals in a very positive manner, like the SMART goals. However, what if you do not meet your goals? You feel demoralized and want to quit, right? What if we turn these goals into rejection goals instead? What if we reframe rejection as a reflection of pure hard work and determination? In this way, you feel much more desirable and keep going to fulfill your life purpose. So I've created a number of exercises for you to do and reflect. So some of these questions that you can think about is, how many rejections are you looking to receive by the end of today, this week, this month, and this year? This is mentally prepare yourself in what is ahead of you. So now that we have prepared ourselves what is ahead of us, it is time to move to our final step of the framework, which is trial and error. As you go out there and discover your life's purpose in an actionable manner, it is not as simple as trying one thing and it will work out perfectly. It doesn't work that way. It needs to go through trial and error, which is repeatedly doing and failing and learning from it. That's how growth works. In this new age, those who follow a rigid, singular path in their youth will often find themselves in a career dead end in their 40s or overwhelmed with boredom. Instead, what you should do is learn as many skills as possible, following the direction that circumstances lead you to, but only if they are related to your deepest interests. You are not sure where this will lead, but you are taking full advantage of the openness of information or of the knowledge at your disposal. You are wondering because you are expanding your skill base and your possibilities. At a certain point, when you're ready to settle on something, ideas and opportunities will inevitably present themselves to you. When this happens, the combination of skills accumulated will prove invaluable and are unique to your individuality. So here are some of the reflections that you can think about, reflection questions that you can think about. Write down all possible pursuits that you think align with your deeper interests. Right? After trying them out, what has made a success or an error? Moving to our final stage, which is the final chapter of this video, which is to sustain through building long-term strength. As you start to explore and unlock your life's purpose, you will stumble across many issues. They often affect your focus, concentration in reaching your life's purpose. They mainly come from these three main domains: emotions, relationships, and productivity. I'll be outlining strategies to overcome obstacles that arise in each domain. First off, let's start on emotion. In this modern era, we are highly susceptible to the moods and emotion around us, especially with the presence of social media platforms. These compel us to react with all kinds of behavior, having feelings of anger, outrage, envy, jealousy, and many other emotions. We often are unaware of how deeply our susceptibility to the emotions of others is affecting what we do and how we respond. Therefore, I'll be discussing 4 strategies to prevent yourself from getting embarrassed by controlling your emotions. First, know yourself thoroughly. Your emotional self thrives on ignorance, meaning to say it has control over you when you lack the information about your own emotions. However, the moment you are aware of how it operates and dominates you is the moment it loses its hold onto you. Your first step is to look inwards. You must reflect on how you operate under stress. Look at your decisions, examine your strengths, and identify what makes you different from other people. Reflect on the following questions. How do you usually respond when it comes to highly stressful situations? Do you act aggressively or do you freeze? What are some traits or uniqueness that makes you different from other people? What are some activities that you engage with that normally people would struggle to do? Now, going to the second strategy, examine your emotions to their roots. When you're emotional, let the feelings settle within. Ask yourself this question: was it triggered by something trivial or petty? If it is a sure sign that somebody is behind it. To arouse the emotions in you, you need to dig any trigger points to see where they started. The best way is to find a neutral position from which you can observe your actions. For example, you could sit down in a quiet place and reflect alone to immerse yourself into the deep introspection, finding the root cause. Another way is to use journal to document your self-assessments with purely being objective without providing yourself any leeway or excuses. You can use the question prompts below. What was the situation's overarching issue? Can it be solved immediately? What was said that triggered me, and how did it trigger me? How may I improve myself going forward? What are some ways that I could address it, such as reading books that particularly solve the issue? And the third strategy, increase your reaction time. This takes practice and repetitions. When some event or interaction requires you a response, you must train yourself to step back. This could mean physically remove yourself to a place where you can be alone and not feel any pressure to respond. Cool the emotions down. As the longer you take, the better, because perspective takes time. Now, there are some reflections that you can do. As you are alone, here are some questions you can ask yourself. How may I provide a response that is understanding and not prejudicial towards the other party? Now, the fourth and last strategy: accept people as facts. Interaction with people are the major source of emotional turmoil. This is mainly because we are continually judging people, wishing they were something that they are not. This makes us want to change them, but everyone is different, which then makes us very frustrated and upset. Instead, you should see other people as neutral as possible and work with what they give you. In this way, you prevent yourself from getting invested too emotionally. So let's do some reflection. What are some characteristics of people that go against your personal values? Under the three fundamentals F: family, fitness, and freedom. What do I have to do to accept them for who they are without contributing too much effort? So these are some questions you can think about. And now we'll move on to our second domain, which is relationship. Humans are attracted to each other's rough edges. This is said by a psychologist, Robert Glover. Relationships will definitely be involved during the course of your endeavors, and they are inevitable. To fulfill a life's purpose, you need actions, and actions requires rapport with people around you in order to grab hold of opportunities. There are many ways to build relationships with people, but the fastest and most efficient way to build a good relationship is through the power of vulnerability. Vulnerability is often associated with being weak, as there are a lot of negative assumptions about being vulnerable and opening up to one's emotions. Being vulnerable is not about sharing your fears or insecurities. However, it is about doing the things that require you to stick your neck out on the line emotionally in some way. For example, asserting an opinion that may offend others, joining a table of people that you don't know, or putting yourself in a position where you will be embarrassed. This makes you vulnerable when you do them. Vulnerability represents a form of power, a deep, subtle form of power. Vulnerability is a path of true human connection and becoming a truly attractive person. By becoming vulnerable, you are training to become comfortable with your emotions, with your thoughts, and with expressing yourself without inhibitions. This does not happen overnight, and it takes practice. You can do the practice now by reflecting the following question prompts. What is stopping you from being vulnerable in front of people? What can you do about it to break free and start showing your true self? Second, how do you feel when you open up to people? If you feel negative emotions, why do you think you feel that way? These are some questions you can think about. Last but not least, the last domain in building our long-term strength will be focusing on improving our productivity. Every successful person that I know of has a productivity system of their own that enables them to produce results consistently. Success arrives the moment you are able to sustain for long periods of time without burning out. This is when you need some fun in your productivity system, as all of us are essentially children living as adults. And fun motivates us to keep going. I'll be touching on 5 fun strategies that keep you engaged with your work without feeling fatigued and unmotivated. First, the magic post-it notes. Whenever you struggle to find motivation to either study for your examination or work on mundane tasks at your corporate job, ask yourself this one question. What would this look like if it were fun? For instance, I will play music when I am working on a brainless task. This makes the task much more interesting and manageable. You can take out a post-it note, write the question down, and paste it on your work desk. So whenever you're at your desk, you are reminded of this question. Think of what kind of activity you can do to incorporate plainness into your work. Think of how you can do it in a different way, such as adding a sense of humor or elements of creativity. This makes the draining process a little more enjoyable, and as a result, productivity naturally comes along. Second, fun strategy: enjoy the process, not the outcome. This is through the emphasis on joy coming not from the outcome, but the process itself. According to Hungarian-American psychologist Mick Haley, He argued that if you learn to focus on the process rather than the outcome, you will substantially more likely to enjoy the task. This is applicable to mundane and unpleasant situations. For instance, ask yourself, what specific changes can make in your day-to-day routine a little different and unique than the usual? This could be adding mini missions that make someone else's day, which in turn energizes you during the day that feel long and boring. This will enable you to looking forward whatever you are doing and finding fun in uninspiring situation. Third, lower the stakes. If the fun promotes our ability to play, there is a related and similar potent factor that reduces that ability. It is called stress. Children are more likely to play when they are in a comfortable, non-threatening environment. This is the same for adults, where the feeling of relaxation promotes playful behaviors, as well as promoting creativity and well-being. When we are stressed, we are less likely to be playful, and our creativity and productivity and well-being tend to suffer tremendously. What we need to do is to try and create an environment that is low stakes and fosters relaxation. So the next time you encounter a task that is stressful, you must ask yourself this question: how can I lower the expectations of this particular task, such that I am still meeting the overall goal of the work without any major compromise? Now, going to the second last strategy, reframe failure. Imagine what would happen if people cheered you on for a little stumble rather than humiliated you. Imagine how would you approach things if you treated as experiments rather than where failure would be just as valuable as success. With an experimental mindset, an internship you end up hating wouldn't be a failure, a waste of time. It would just be another data point to help you realize that that's not what you want. And if your goal is to develop meaningful relationships, then the data collection process might involve going on dates, attending social events, and engaging with new people. With an experimental mindset, a date that doesn't lead to a second one or a friendship that doesn't blossom wouldn't be a failure. It will be just another data point to help you understand your compatibility. Suddenly, you can afford to play around, let some fun in, rather than fixating on the fact that you make a mistake and it ruins the mood and destroys productivity. No failure is ever a failure. It's an invitation to try something new. Now ask yourself this question: reflecting on past experiences or failures, how have they shaped you as a person as of today? Last strategy: don't be serious, be sincere. There's a difference between being serious and being sincere. A serious person cares a little too much about winning, and he or she sucks the energy out of the task or work. On the other hand, a sincere person is serious enough to be fully engaged with the task or work at hand, but not so serious to an extent that he or she is too fixated at winning or losing. A sincere person is able to laugh and joke around and make light of the mistakes made. Oftentimes when you feel stressed, anxious, or drained by your work, it's easy to forget to be sincere and instead flip towards being too serious. The question you should ask yourself in moments like this is, how can I approach this with a little less seriousness and a little more sincerity? A sincere approach is focusing on the process of completing a task rather than being fixated on the end result. A sincere approach is seeking out input and collaboration of others rather than trying to tackle a project on your own. By doing these things, you may find easier to approach it in the spirit of fun, of play, and you're better able to focus and motivated throughout. All of these strategies came out by Ali Abdaal. He's the one that written the book called Feel Good Productivity. I recommend you guys to check it out. And these questions, some of them are created by me, and you can feel free to reflect on them. Hopefully, this will help you in increasing your productivity. If you have made it so far into the video, I want to thank you so much for taking your precious time to learn this incredible knowledge from me. It takes tremendous effort to be creating this video contents in the workbook I share. Please do share how this has helped you so that I can improve on my next content moving forward and in serving you. If you're interested to learn more about the Life Academy that I mentioned, do check it out in the description box below. Alright, see you in the Academy and see you in the next video. Bye bye.